Okay, we chat to Ashraf Gangrekar in a moment, but Sentio is an ethically based asset manager that is focused on delivering superior risk-adjusted returns for their clients, regardless of market conditions. So that's cool. For more information on their Sharia investment products, visit the website, which is sentiocapital.com. So Sentio and then -capital.com. Start saving towards your investment goals today. Sentio Capital Management, invest for good. Sentio Capital Management is an authorized financial services provider. Okay, let's we do this every day. We get fired up with Ashraf Gangrekar. Sounds like me, but definitely not me. Maybe a lot more wiser than me, I would think. Ashraf, I appreciate your time as always. Thanks for joining me. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam. Certainly not wiser. You and I just share a hairstyle, and I mean that's makes me as comfortable as anything. Great stuff, Ashraf. How are you doing, champ? You okay?
Well, interesting you said we share a hairstyle, because I mean your conversation is about acceptance of the self and acceptance of the
well
other.
said.
So
that's a magic introduction.
it's a nice link into that. Yeah, tell me what you want to tell me.
That was lovely lead. Yeah. And I think this is a very, very important thing. I think for me, and I think if we take a step back, and I think for everybody, particularly as to where with great concern, and I know someone like you, Ashraf, you've raised it and speak about it often, where we're at in our country, as it were, particularly when we hear the horrors of, say, Operation Tudula, perhaps in the sense of the other. So acceptance of the self is precisely that, and something that we just take for granted. So I'm going to go through a quick exercise for you, Ashraf, and the listeners. If you were to ask yourself, if I was to ask you rather, do you like yourself? The reflex instinctive answer is yes. Then if I was to ask you, so what do you like about yourself? Then quite honestly, there's going to be a bit of a pause, and you're suddenly going to have to be thinking, and invariably you're going to start thinking of the things that you don't like first. It's an incredible thing, the way the mind works. So this self-realization and self-acceptance is to say, well, I like who I am now. Not the perfect me, not the Instagram me or the Facebook me. I like who I am. So by asking you and everyone else the question, the person that you are now, how close are you to the person you want to be? Because why is this important, Ashraf? Self-acceptance is an act of love. It's to accept who you are, flaws and all, lack of hair or beautiful hair or whatever else you have, completely. This is so crucial, because self-acceptance will increase acceptance of the other, so that we don't need to see the other as different. We don't need to see the other as alien, because we are okay in who we are. So that it's easy simply to see the other as whether a different ethnic group, different religion. But I want to focus on when we see the other as, even in our social circles, those who we perceive to have less than us, those who maybe live in a different socio-economic grouping, and then we see that other. Now, and I'm going to argue and put forth that there's a clear connection between the acceptance of self and the regard for the other. The higher the acceptance of the self, the higher the regard for the other.
And you're saying there's testimony to confirm that? Is that widespread?
Yeah.
Is that,
in fact, there's been quite a bit of study on this. In fact, one of the most cited studies is in 1951. Subsequently, there's been much more than that. There've been a host of studies that maybe in another show I can quote all of that for you. But there is definitely this notion of when you accept who you are, flaws and all, and nobody's asking you to be perfect, right? So all the many mistakes that we've made in our collective lives, and you start owning that, you are able to see others without the lenses of judgment, without the lenses of criticism, and that creates the sense of compassion within you to then accept the other.
Okay, here's a quick one before we wrap up.
Yeah, sure.
If you're, because this is an acceptance of self, so it's your self-image, right? So what happens if you look at yourself and you analyze yourself and you're not happy with what you see for whatever reason, right? Like many of us, right? So how did you convince? What's the trigger to get someone to accept themselves, even though they have all these inherent flaws? Yeah,
magic. Because the first thing that you said it's the acceptance of self is the acceptance of the image. Make sure though that the image is based on the reality. That's the first part. The image cannot be, the Instagrammable stuff. The image is warts and all who you are. Make sure you see that. Then the first trigger, Ashraf, and maybe we can continue this tomorrow. The first trigger is be kind to yourself. We are often our biggest critics. Ashraf, I actually wish I had hair. I mean this, right? And I don't know if you feel that way. But
I
so we are
actually don't,
often,
for the record. I don't. I'm quite
oh, you're
comfortable
serious?
the way I
Oh,
feel I look like. Yeah,
no, I
I'm
know you're
definitely.
comfortable, but I mean, it wouldn't have been a bad idea.
No,
So
I'm
be
fine.
kind to yourself without being your biggest critic. Sometimes, as I said to you earlier, we focus on the negative. And when other people criticize us, then why are we surprised when we're often our biggest critics ourselves? I'm
Well,
saying
there you have it.
change that. Just love yourself.
Okay, you got us all fired up. Thanks for your time. We'll chat
Great
again
stuff.
tomorrow. Ashraf
Always good
Gangrekar,
to
thank
speak to
you
you,
so much.
Ashraf.
There you are. Accept yourself and then acceptance of others. So make that link between the two. By the way, we have this feature, the Champion South Africa feature, where we ask people, say, who is championing South Africa? Do you know someone who is championing South Africa by their actions? We'll chat to Yunus Jassat and the work that he does and his organization that comes up just now. And then don't forget the feature with the Dlamini Mosque in Soweto as part of the 20, 30 most significant mosques in South Africa. Up next, Dr. Yusuf Saluji, how to kick the nicotine habit in Ramadan, right after this.